Morning. Man, I'm so excited that you guys are here, and I just want to welcome you this morning. If this is the place you normally attend, or if this is your first time this morning, man, we are so pumped that you're here. And I just got to tell you this morning, just got to be real honest, man, I love our church. I love our church, and here's the reason, and you got to hear my heart on this, okay? Here's the reason I love our church. I love our church because this place is filled with a bunch of very different people. Now, I didn't say weird. You thought weird. I said different. We're different people. And if this is your first time this morning, I want to show you a glimpse of who we are as a church. And I'm sure by the end of this, you're going to be sitting there going, no, you're not different. You're a bunch of weirdos. That's what you are. I'm pretty sure that that's going to happen. Check this out right here.
Well, I saw you the other day. Well, I thought you might say, hey. But you turned your head and walked away. You know how to drive me crazy. Come on. Well, it's alright. Well, I'll be fine. You're just fish in the sea. That's what you mean to me. Well, I cast my line to infinity and reel in ones and twos and threes. Come on. Well, it's alright. Well, I'll be fine. Hey. Well, I saw you the other day. Well, I thought you might say, hey. But you turned your head and walked away. You know how to drive me crazy. Come on.
Some people would call that our tacky Christmas party. I would call that the sacrifice your beard so that Joe Dirt could show up party. And I would do that any day. I will sacrifice a beard. It'll grow back. No big deal for anything. So if you got something tacky, I saw like a Batman deal the other day. We're going to have like a superhero like party. Like this dude had a Batman thing like shaved into his mustache and his goatee. It was awesome. It was so fun. But man, we're a group of very different people. So if you're brand new, you probably think we're a bunch of weirdos, and you'd probably be right. But this morning we've been in this series we've been calling The Journey for the past couple of weeks, and we've been looking at how Jesus' journey 2,000 years ago can have an impact on our journey today. And every single one of us are on some kind of journey. How many of you know that? Life is a journey, right? There's ups, there's downs, there's twists, there's turns, there's bumps, there's things that come up that you didn't expect. Life is a journey. And we're seeing how Jesus' life 2,000 years ago can have some kind of impact on our life today. And this morning, your journey may have you here, and your journey may have you a little messed up, right? Maybe you've done you've made some moral decisions over the past couple of years, and you're here and you're kind of ashamed of that, and you're sitting there thinking, man, I've really messed up my life. But here's what I know about that situation. When we find ourselves in a situation in our life where we go, man, I've just really messed up, we always go to some form of this thing going, man, I don't know how Jesus could ever want me. right? I've messed up my life so much. I don't even know how he would love me anymore, how he could forgive me. I don't even know if he would understand, but I'm here to tell you this morning that he does. And the Christmas story is proof to us that he cares and that there is a way for him to love you and forgive you no matter where you are, on what part of your journey that you've been on. Man, and that's good news this morning, right? So I want to show it to you real quick. If you got your Bibles in Luke chapter 2, if you don't have your Bible, no big deal. We're going to throw some words up on the screen. You can follow along with us there too. It goes on and it starts, "In those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census should be taken of the entire Roman world. This was the first census that took place while Quirinius was governor of Syria. And everyone went to their own town to register. So Joseph also went up from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house and the line of David. He went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to be married to him, but was expecting a child. And while they were there, the time came for the baby to be born, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son, and she wrapped him in cloths and placed him in a manger because there were no guest room available for him." Now, when most of us hear that story, it takes us back to some kind of nativity scene. At some point, maybe it was a little nativity scene that your parents used when you were little to try to teach you about Jesus. Maybe it was that Christmas play at that church that your kid was in that had one line. That's all you had, was one line. And it was the sheep sound. And you made a goat sound, right? But we get to this place where it's like, it brings us back to this nativity scene thing. And I want you to get this. I'm not anti-nativity scene, okay? I'm not going to tell you to go home and throw your nativity scenes away, and they're all wrong, but for the most part, most of it is wrong. But I'm just saying, the nativity scene, in our mind, it has kind of pushed down really what happened on that day, because Luke tells us right here that there was no guest room available for them. And because of our nativity scenes, maybe we've formed a belief or this thought that because that nativity scene looks like that, there wasn't any room, so they just went out behind the inn to some barn, and then Jesus was born, right? But that couldn't be further from the truth on what happened, because Bible scholars, people that are brilliant, that study this stuff, that study history, they tell us that Jesus was more than likely born in a sheep cave. Now think about that for a second. I don't know if how many of you have been on vacations to the mountains and you've went and you've kind of ventured into some caves? How many of you have been there, done that? Like, okay, all right, more hands up now. See, it always takes one. It's always that. That's why I always raise my hand for everything. Like, are you a woman? And I raise my hand just so you'll feel welcome to raise your hand. That's not really the case. I'm not. But we've been in these caves, and here's what I know about the caves that I've been in is that most of them are dark and most of them are cold. And this wasn't just your average cave, man. This was a sheep cave. This is where the shepherds would lead the sheep. Like when it got bad weather outside, the shepherds would lead the sheep into these caves, and they would keep them out of the element. So I'm just saying, okay? I'm not going to say this because some of you may have like really bad gag reflexes, and I'm not going to get into that because I don't want you hurling and then somebody else is going to do it and it's just going to be bad. Let's just don't do that. But I'm just saying, you get a herd of sheep in a little enclosed cave for a period of time, and how many of you know they just take care of some stuff? Right? I'm just saying. So it was probably nasty. It was probably smelly. It was disgusting. It was dark. It was cold. It was just a mess. And Jesus was born into the mess. And that fascinates me. That fascinates me. He wasn't born in a palace. He wasn't born in some prominent place. He wasn't even born in the most famous part of the world. Jesus was born into the mess. And that communicates something so huge that we can grasp this morning, because for some of us, we think sometimes because of our messiness, we think we can't come to Jesus. Right? Because of our mess, we can't bring our life to Jesus. But his birth communicates to us that he came to us even in our messiness. He was born into the mess. And last week, this is what we saw last week. If you're a note taker, Ashley, you can throw that one up. Last week we saw Jesus saw our mess and didn't what? He didn't run from it, but he stepped into it. Man, grasp that today. That's why we've talked about it for the past couple of weeks. If there's one thing I want you to get this Christmas is this: Jesus isn't afraid of your mess. He doesn't run from your mess. He steps into your mess. Man, that's powerful. Man, that's powerful. And the Christmas story is proof that Jesus isn't afraid of our mess. But here's the thing. I've talked to so many people, and they've kind of gotten to this place in their thought process that they're like, man, listen, I just got to get my life cleaned up first, right? I gotta start acting right, and then I can come to church. Or I gotta stop doing some of these things, and I gotta start doing some of these things, and I just gotta get better, right? I gotta get better with my life so that God will one day approve of me. But here's reality. Man, here's reality. All of us were born sinful, right? All of us was born into the mess. All of us were separated from God, and God knew that. God knew that. And he sent his son not to condemn the world, right? Not to condemn the world, but to save the world. So I'm going to send Jesus to get involved in your mess, not to say, hey man, you're messy, because you already know that. Just look around you real quick. Look to your neighbor. Look at you. Don't look. Just look. They're messy, right? Now look to your other neighbor that you didn't like as much and that you didn't pick first, right? Look to them. They're messy people, and some of you are going, yeah, man, I knew that. I know that they're messy people, but Jesus wasn't afraid of our mess. He came into our mess, not to prove a point and to say, dude, you need to stop what you're doing. Right? Jesus came to make a difference and to give us a way out of our mess. And if you're a note taker, that's what I want you to get this morning. You can go to that next slide there, Ashley, and they can see that. Jesus came to make a what? He didn't come to make a point. Right? As a church for far too long, as a church as a whole, man, we've been really good at making points, but we've been really horrible at making a difference. And Jesus didn't come to make a point and to point out everything in your life that you're doing wrong and tell you how horrible of a person you are. He didn't come to make a point. He came to make a what? A difference, and to get you out of your mess. That's the Christmas story. That's the Christmas story. He came to get you out of your mess. So this morning, wherever you are on your journey, if you found yourself in a place where you're just messed up and you feel like there's no way out of that mess, listen, Jesus came and he's not afraid of your mess, and he doesn't run from your mess. He steps into your mess, and he comes into your life to walk with you through your mess, to one day give you a hope of getting out of your mess. That's what Christmas is about. That's what we're celebrating this morning, right? Come on, somebody has to be proud of that. I'm a messy, I must be the messiest person here if I'm the only one excited that Jesus didn't come to prove a point to me. He came to make a difference in my life and to help me get out of the mess that I'm in. That's Jesus this morning. That's Jesus. Now here's the deal. Some of you are here and you're not messed up. Like you haven't had that moral failure, or you haven't done that one thing that you're so ashamed of that you don't think God would forgive you. You're sitting there and you have forgiveness. You've got a grasp on that, and you thank God for that. But maybe you're here and there's situations in your life and there's circumstances that you're going through that you didn't really expect. Because here's what I know about Christmas time. Christmas times brings the best and it brings the worst. Right? Because maybe this year your Christmas is being spent with one less person that you love sitting around the table. Man, that's hard. That's hard. That's bad. But maybe your situation is a little bit different. Maybe you don't have one less. Maybe you got one more. Maybe your daughter got married. Maybe somebody else got married. You don't really even like the guy anyway, but now he's sitting at your table eating your chicken or eating your ham. I'm just saying, it brings tension. Like Christmas time brings some tension, and it's hard. And maybe you find yourself in a situation with a job or with a relationship or whatever, and it just didn't bring, you just can't wrap your mind around it, and you can't get it, and you're a little bit shook up, right? And here's what I know about all of us. No matter where you are on your journey, you can think back at some point in your life, and you can think back on an event or a situation that happened that legitimately shook you up. And here's what I know about those moments. When we go through those moments, we all ask some form of the same question, and it looks like, God, where are you? Right? Where are you? Are you even here? And if you're really here, then do you even care? Because you seem completely unaware of what's going on in my life right now. God, where are you right now? But here's what I want to tell you about the Christmas story. The Christmas story is full of people that were shook up, right? Like the way Jesus was born and the things that surrounds his birth, man, that wasn't a coincidence. That was ordained for something to show me and to show you that there's hope in every situation that we go through. Just think about this for a minute. Think about Mary. Right? Mary was from 14 to 16 years old, and the angel came to her and said, you're going to give birth to the Messiah. I don't know about you, but that would freak me out. I'm just saying, that would shake me up. She had to be a little shook up by what's happening right now. And not only that, right, her plans had to be changed. Like her dreams, her goals, her hopes for her life, all of that changed in one moment. And now her reputation's on the line, right? Because now she's going back and she's telling her family, she's telling her friends, she's telling all these people, hey, an angel came to me and now I'm pregnant. Right? And how many people do you really believe bought the whole virgin birth thing? I mean, come on, that's never happened before. That's never happened again. Like, what's the deal? She had to be shaken up. Everything about her was shook up in that moment. And then she takes all of that and she comes to Joseph, right? I'm engaged to you, right? You should be the one to know that an angel came to me and now I'm pregnant, right? What would you do as a guy? I didn't have anything to do with that, right? I mean, that wasn't me. So like, am I gonna believe what she said, or like what's going on? Do we need to end this thing? What? Joseph was shook up, and then on top of all of that, some time goes by, and families start asking questions, and friends start asking questions, and they kind of got pushed aside because that really didn't happen. That's what they were thinking. They got pushed aside and things got a little bit hectic in their life. And then the census came, right? Isn't that what our scripture said this morning? There was a census. And then Joseph had to go from Nazareth to Bethlehem. And the trip from Nazareth to Bethlehem was a 2-week journey. And at the time, Mary was 8.5 months pregnant. And they didn't have Delta, right? They didn't have American Airlines. They didn't have Enterprise Rent-A-Car. She had to travel 2 weeks from Nazareth to Bethlehem, not in a car, but on a donkey. And I don't know any woman, right? Any pregnant woman, especially at 8.5 months pregnant, that wants to take a 2-week trip anywhere, much less on a donkey through rough terrain, going from one city to another city, really for a pointless situation. And I can say that with confidence because I live with a pregnant woman. And I'm just saying, sometimes it's hard to go from our house to McDonald's. So we're not going on a 2-week trip anywhere, right? They were shaken up. The whole situation was just rough. And how many of you have ever taken like a car ride with your significant other, or a long distance car ride with, okay. Yeah, a lot. How many of you know there's a lot of talking that goes on those? I mean, not so much from, there's just a lot of talking going on from that. I'm probably going to get in trouble when I walk off in just a little bit. She's here and all that. But there's, I can just imagine on a 2-week journey on a donkey, there was a lot of conversations that were going on. Like there was a lot that were not so good. There was probably some times that Mary was cussing Joseph out. I'm just saying that he couldn't have done everything right on the journey. It had to be pretty bad. But I know that there were some questions that were asked. Right? There were probably some tears that was shed. There was probably some moments along their journey that there was some doubt that came in, like God said that all of this would happen, and God said that this stuff would go on, but right now I'm having a problem figuring out if God's even there, because if you were there, you would come down and you would take care of some of this, right? You would take care of the 2-week journey. You would at least let me have some kind of horse carriage to get me there, right? You would at least, when I got there, make sure that there was a room in the inn, right, where we could be in a clean environment. You could at least do that, but he doesn't. And I'm sure along that journey they were sitting there going, man, are you even there? Like, do you even care what's going on in our life? See, I think so many times, and maybe it's because of our nativity scene, maybe it's because we're in the Bible Belt and you've heard this story over and over and over. But I think so many times we lose focus of what probably really happened. Because Mary was a real woman. And Joseph was a real man. And that journey will be no different than your journey. So how would you have acted? What would you have been thinking? Where would you be if all of that situation happened on the journey that you're on? Where would you be? See, I'm pretty sure that Mary and Joseph were so shook up about the whole situation and sitting there going, God, do you even really care? But here's the cool part. I'm going to fast forward. Joseph and Mary made it to Bethlehem. And I want you to get this. They didn't see Jesus initially, okay? A whole 8.5-month pregnant thing, 2-week journey. They didn't see Jesus. But when they got there, they saw Jesus eventually. Right? And their circumstances didn't change immediately, but every circumstance with Jesus, it changes eventually. Right? Jesus always makes things new. That's the reason why he came. He said, I'm going to come to make you new. Everything with Jesus eventually gets better. And Jesus' birth is proof to us that God's promises are always greater than our problems. Right? Jesus' birth is proof that God's promises are always greater than our problems. The birth of Jesus proves that to us. Now, I know there's probably some people going, well, you know, that's a cool story. And that's all awesome and stuff, but that happened 2,000 years ago, and not a lot of that happens now. And I would tell you that it does. And this is what that looks like.
Everything with my 4th pregnancy was normal. I mean, it went completely as expected. You know, it was great. Went into labor on my own, didn't have to be induced, which was nice. That never happened with the other 3 pregnancies.
Then the day came and went to the hospital. It was kind of like a circus, you know, and, with the anesthesiologist not knowing where to put the needle, and it was just really kind of odd.
Yeah, so I gave birth. You know, Roman was born. He was happy. He was healthy. He had 10 fingers and 11 toes. You know, God gave us something a little extra. Everything went well. And so it wasn't until 2 hours later when they brought me to my own room to kind of, you know, get me settled in. Brought me to my room, they got me settled in. The nurse got me out to help me to the bathroom because after you have a baby and you have an epidural, you can't walk on your own. So she got me up to go to the bathroom, and I felt just this like massive, like gush of water. Gush of like blood. There's really no good way to put that. So I didn't know if that was normal or not. I'd had a baby before, before, but I'd forgotten. So she goes to the bathroom, she helps me, whatever, and we're going to wash my hands before she helps me get back in bed. And there's more blood that comes out, and I'm just like, it happened again. And she looks down at me, and I'm getting ready to wash my hands. I got soap in my hands, ready to wash them, and she's like, okay, we need to get you back to your bed now. And I was like, so she gets me in the bed, and then she starts paging all these nurses, and all these nurses come rushing in. And I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what was even happening. And they start like pushing on my stomach and I guess trying to get my uterus to contract. And after some debate, they needed to start me on some Pitocin to get me to start contracting again. And I was like, look, I just had a baby. I do not want to go through that again, go through labor, you know, basically, and all that pain and stuff. So I was kind of like in my own little, like, I was mad. I was like, seriously, I have to go through this again. So they bring in the Pitocin and they get me all hooked up, and it start feeling the contractions. And I'm just like, oh my God. And I still didn't really understand what was going on. I didn't understand what was happening. I just knew that that's what they needed to do to help me. And, but if I knew that was like, the pain that I was experiencing during those contractions was nothing compared to what was about to come. Like I had no idea what I was about to go through. It was the day I was supposed to be discharged. The nurse was helping me. She told me she'd never seen anything like that. And I had got up to go to the bathroom and like, again, graphic, big blood clots like just fell on the ground. And I was like, is this normal? Like, I know I had 3 babies, but is this normal? And she, you could tell she didn't really know, but she wanted to like, I guess, collect it to go weigh it or something. I don't know. So she gets me all settled in back in my bed, and I look down again, and there's just more blood. Like, I had my after I give birth, I have this like really pretty like nightgown on that I wanted to wear, because I was like, after you have birth, you don't feel that great. So I was like, let's put this on and make me feel better. So I bought that especially for after I give birth, and I looked down and it was just all bloody. And I was like, oh my God, what is happening? Remembering like telling myself in my head, kept telling myself in my head, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna die, I'm not gonna die, I'm not gonna die. Like,
I don't know what to do to help her. All I can do is try and comfort her by holding her hand and then getting her whatever she needs. Just talk to her a little bit. And there's really nowhere for me to turn to other than, you know, prayer and hoping that she'll get through this, because I've never had to deal with anything like that before. It's pretty scary.
so much pain, and I think I was screaming like, take me to surgery, take me to surgery, like stop putting me through this pain. And I, you know, at that point I was like, crap, I'm dying. I was like, I'm not gonna get to see my kids again. I was like, I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to see baby Roman like grow up and then leave my husband with 4 kids. Like, woo, that's a lot. And I look over to my mom and I'm like so weak, so frail. I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I'm fading. Like, I don't feel like I'm gonna make it. Like, I'm fading. Please tell them to hurry. Because I felt that if I had like given in to sleep and everything and closed my eyes, that I wouldn't have done that. So I was fighting to stay awake. I was like, please tell them whatever to hurry. So I said, Mom, I'm fading. And she tells the doctors, like, hurry up, she's fading. And they look up at the like vitals and all that stuff, and they were like, oh crap, okay, let's go. So they rushed me to surgery, and they take me in, and they were like, okay, just in case, we're gonna have, what's your blood type, just in case, we probably won't need it, but just in case we need to give you a blood transfusion. I was like, okay, so positive. And so they take me into surgery, and I could not wait for them to put me out, because I felt like I was finally safe, I guess. Okay, someone, I don't have to feel this pain anymore.
I didn't know what to think, know what to do. I was helpless, and there was nothing I could do. And that's all I could do is wait.
So I remember waking up in the ICU and them telling me, the doctor said, these were her words, she's like, you lost a lot of stinking blood in there. So they had to give me 2 blood transfusions. They said that I lost almost half my body's blood. It was a lot of freaking blood. So I was on the brink of death, basically, and they said, just when you go through something like that, you kind of start to think about things differently. You're just thanking God that you're alive, that you get to spend more time with your kids, that you do get to see them grow up, and I think He gave me that to hold on to when I was going through all that.
I gathered more of a sense of spiritual presence and I guess patience. There's something bad that's going on, doesn't mean that it's going to stay that way. Our family was pretty shaken up.
There's something bad going on, it doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. All right, 2,000 years ago, Jesus came to the earth to give us a way out. Right, He came to the earth to give us a way out of our mess, and He came to the earth to show us that no matter how shook up we are, that it's not always going to be that way. And it might not change immediately, but with Jesus, everything changes eventually. Jesus changes everything in your life.